Welcome back to Real Talk. Remember, tonight we are spotlighting addiction, and earlier on, two of my guests shared their stories, and as you can see, they started at a very young age. Remember, you can join the conversation via the hashtag #RealTalk with Tamima on Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook. Right now, Carol, welcome to Real Talk.
Thank you very much, Tamima.
A lot of times, people will assume that addiction is something that only men or young boys deal with, but not women. But it's something that you've struggled with for years. Maybe please share with us your story.
Yeah, just to agree with you, I've been saying lately that addiction is not a respecter of persons. It's also not a respecter of gender. And case in point, because I struggled with addiction from the time I was just slightly over 18. I started drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes when I joined Form 5. We start innocently, and mine was just out of experimenting.
So
just
friends?
Yeah, just friends, peer pressure, and peer pressure is real. And peer pressure is not only for teenagers, it's also for grown-ups. But for me, mine stems from the fact that I had a very low self-esteem growing up. I actually had none of it. And when you have no self-esteem, you basically have no skeleton. As my father likes to call it, you don't have a skeleton. So when anyone says jump, you normally ask how high. And the person who is introducing me to this was the coolest chick in school.
So you wanted to be like her?
And I wanted to be like her because I always felt like the underdog, quote and unquote. I was the most unpopular, the most ugly, according to people. And so here is this chick, and she's so hot, and she wants to be my friend. And so because I'm looking for this acceptance and affirmation, we quickly became friends. And then here she was a smoker, she was a drinker, she was everything that I was not.
So you were assimilated into all these things that
Yes.
she's doing because you want to belong.
Because I want to belong.
At what point did you realize that this thing that started out as a harmless habit is now becoming an addiction?
My drinking was hard from the word go. I used to go to pubs and people tell me, I drink pole pole, unakunywanga haraka sana. But me, I couldn't understand what they're meaning because by the time someone is taking their second beer, me, I'm on beer number 4 or number 5.
So your tolerance biologically was already high?
Very high from the word go. My first drink was a bottle of wine at 12%. And it didn't get me high. It didn't even get me tipsy. So it didn't do anything.
That's part of why you probably never thought, I could never be an addict. I can handle myself.
Yeah, I could handle. And even the days I used to wake up shaking, I used to think maybe it's because I drank too much. Maybe tomorrow I'll reduce. But when tomorrow comes, hey, tomorrow is even worse than the day before. So I started kutoa lock very early in my addiction.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, obviously, did anyone at home now realize that Carol has changed?
My dad noticed it back in 2007. And he wrote me a very long letter. And before the long letter, he first wrote me a text. But unajua walevi ni wale. You read it when you're high and you cry for like 2 minutes. And then after the tears have gone, you forget about it and you move on. And then at that time in 2007, I was in a very good job. I was earning quite some good money. So, you know, when you're earning and you're in addiction, you're also very arrogant.
As part of your story, at some point, you went to study abroad.
Yes.
And again, your addiction reared its ugly head, and it got so bad that you had to come back.
Yeah.
Maybe tell us about that.
I went to study in Malaysia after Form 6. In Malaysia is where I discovered marijuana, and I moved from beers now to spirits. There's a reason they're called spirits, eh? They are truly spirits, those ones. So mine spiraled to the point of I was even cut off from class because I couldn't go to class anymore. I used to be a Friday, Saturday kind of a drinker, but now I became a regular drinker. Almost every other day was a drinking day.
So obviously you're in a strange country.
Yeah.
Where are you getting the money to drink and drink this much, Monday to Sunday?
In Malaysia at the time, there were a lot of people from Botswana and then the Malays, and they were very friendly towards us Africans. So getting somebody to buy you anything was not a big deal. And my best friend at the time was a Malay. God rest her soul. I hear she lost the battle in this journey of addiction. But she was my best friend, and she came from a very wealthy family. So she used to more or less handle all my bills. And then also you make friends there. You go into a pub, you're an African chick. Then I realized apparently I was very hot because I was 21. I used to wear the small tops and everything. So you always get people to fund you or to enable your habit. So for me, money was not a problem. As long as it's money for drinking, it will always be there.
So at what point in Malaysia did you now come to your senses and say, I need help?
It was not that I need help. Things were thick. There's a difference. I've been cut off from class. My housemates have moved out.
So the school
No, they didn't suspend me, but they said I need to recollect myself because they sensed there was a problem. people I was living with in the same apartment. One day I come back from a foreign town and I come back and I find everyone moved out.
Wow.
I was left alone. As in, no, people had shivered my habits. So I communicated back home and I came back home. But it was not, I would not call it remorse. It was those ones of, sasa kimeumana.
Right.
Something
Because
needs to
you're in an
give.
apartment which you're sharing. Now
Yeah.
you have to pay it for it by yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's also this part of being in a foreign country. It's lonely, by the way. So I had to come back home. At least I knew, even if things are so bad, at least at home, there are people, there's family.
Joining us right now is Carol's dad, Mr. James Kagia. As a parent, listening to her talk about her experience, did you know, especially the first time when she went to Malaysia, did you sense anything was off with Carol?
Growing up, I think, and in my working experience, I only saw 3 people in a setup that had about 1,000 people who were affected by alcohol.
Okay.
But still, we did not understand it. So now here you are a parent, and occasionally then you realize someone has drunk alcohol. And for me, I drank until about 90, really. That's when I gave my life to the Lord and I stopped completely. But I had stopped a little way earlier, about 88. So I got saved 10 years into my marriage. I think she's about 10 at that time. And everything is normal. But then comes this time, which she's talking about. We have taken her to A-level in an upmarket school, and she meets that. But again, at that point, we don't notice much.
Because she's also hiding it.
Yeah, she's hiding it.
Yes.
So you don't notice much. I think the time we really came to notice was when she was in Malaysia and we started realizing there is a problem, a big problem. And of course, sometimes you could not get hold of her, we could not communicate. At one point, in fact, we were so worried that we thought someone should fly there and see what is going on. But we had money constraints, so we could not organize that. Eventually, thank God she came back. Still, we did not really fully grasp the problem. What is this? Because at that point, you're just cautioning someone if you see something, because you think it's something that can stop just the way you handle it. Why can't you?
You didn't think it was a disease.
No,
because
we did
addiction
not
is a disease.
We did not understand.
Yeah.
And a lot of parents up to now do not understand that this is a disease. So she comes and we take her to college. She does 2 diplomas? Yeah, she starts working. That's when now we noticed it, that there is a problem. We look for her, you cannot get her at work. She has abandoned work. You can't get hold of her. At one point, we had to go where she was working, and she told us she is at home taking care of her child.
You came from Malaysia, like he said. You guys had a discussion. Things didn't go well there, but we are willing to give you a second chance. They pay for you to go back to school. You go back to school, you excel. And then, so how do you find yourself back again, in the jaws of addiction?
Here is Carol in her first job. Now she has predictable income. Carol still wants to mix with the Joneses, to be on the same level with the Joneses, okay? Every Friday, people are going out. Carol still has that thirst for booze. She has never dealt with it because she didn't even know what it was. Me, I'm still thinking, I'm just having fun. So Friday evening, I go out. The plan was not to sleep out, by the way. I had a very small child. Now, considering that I come from a very conservative home, how am I going to knock my father's gate when I'm in that condition? So what happens? I sleep out on Saturday. Saturday, I wake up with a hangover that is so terrible, I can't do anything else than take another one for it to clear. But that first one is very nice. So before you know it, you start saying, by 1 o'clock, Aki, I'll be home. By 2 o'clock, I'll be home. It reaches 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, you're still saying, then you switch off your phone. Come, Teja.
So it's a vicious cycle now.
It's a vicious cycle. Sunday, since I've not yet gone home and Monday I have to go to work, say I have money in my account, I go to an exhibition, I buy outfit for work for Monday.
Wow. So for you, Mr. Kagia, you being a parent, you picked up on she's not being the best parent that she can be. How are you dealing with that? And especially now that you're part of the church, and I'm sure people talk. So probably somebody must have come to you and told you, your daughter, if she continues down this road, it's not going to end well.
It was a very challenging moment. She has left her son, with us. We are taking care of her. And she's on her own, like she's saying, she would come, she would go. Eventually, of course, she went to be on her own. The only thing is that we really turned to prayer and we stood on the promises of God. And the journey continued. It was a long time, like she's saying.
So beyond now
Yes, yes.
counseling her as her parents, at any point did you ask her maybe
So
to
for-
seek professional help?
Well, it came to a point where now I kept talking to her. This is the time now she's alone. She has no job. In her house, she has sold everything.
Wow.
There's nothing except her bed, a fully furnished house. There is nothing, absolutely. I'm hearing stories from the neighbors that sometimes it's so bad that she misses her gate. I think that was the lowest point I think she went.
So at this point, what was the intervention?
So at this point, because you've been talking, every opportunity I got, I would tell her, we can help you. We want to help you. A rehab can help you. It is at that point now, I think she came to that point of saying, yes, Daddy, I want to go to a rehab.
So at that moment, you admitted it to yourself and you allowed your family to help you.
Yeah, because the thing with addiction, you know, at some point, you come to the realization that you're in trouble. You always know it, but you can't say it to others. And when others say it to you, you get defensive. And then it reached a point, the people I'm seeing on TV are people I've gone to school with. Whenever I read a magazine, it's people I was in class with, not people who are even ahead of me, people who were in the same class with, my desk mate behind, in front. And I'm like, whatever happened to this chick?
It felt
is
like
not
you had
me.
wasted your life.
Yeah, what happened? I mean, I missed out on my 20s, to be honest. I can't tell you what my 20s were about. My 20s, there was nothing substantial apart from drinking and smoking. There was nothing about my 20s. And it reached a point, one morning I just woke up. Because I'd been, by the way, did I tell you I thought of how to sell my passport? I'd gotten a Nigerian to buy my passport. I was going to go for 10K.
That I did not know.
Okay,
So-
now he knows.
But it reached a point, I think, let me tell you, there's something very powerful about prayer. Prayer works wonders. I used to walk through dark alleys and I'm reading Psalms 23 in my head.
Like, let me get to my
Yeah,
destination.
just let me get
there
and when
be
I
no
get there,
peace.
I'm like, thank you, God. That time I have 4 moonlights in my bag, or 4 moonwalkers, or 4 jebels. I go, I put them on the kitchen counter. I'm like, thank you, Jesus. I look at them like this. You know, I had glamorized those things. But after I opened the first one, just opening the first one, I start feeling guilty. I'm like, I had said, dear God, that I'll never take, but let me just finish this round. And tomorrow,
The last time.
It's the last round. That week before rehab, I don't know where I got money from, but I made sure so that I grieve for this booze nicely. Blue Moon, all the flavors entered this system. 1 week to me entering rehab. Dallas, I did it. Moonlight, Moonwalker, Jebel, all of them, just to say goodbye.
And did you mean it?
Yes,
Okay.
for me, I knew it. That was the end.